Backed up, I hope, by Mark, who's going to tell you how nice it is in Urmston, which is virtually Cheshire, or maybe it's nearer Cheshire than I am. Hope it's nice where you are. Okay, plan of the day. You should have a copy of this presentation in front of you. We're going to go through various parts of the AS specification. Some of it is just pure revision. I'll be asking you. You're showing off now, Abu Dhabi. You're just showing off. That's too hot. There you go. It's nice here. It's too hot there. The other interaction way we can do, you can send me questions through the chat window, but bear in mind, as you obviously have realized now, I'm very, very limited in my ability to type. Very, very limited to do multitasking like type and speak at the same time. We'll have a break halfway through, round about 3 o'clock, see how we're getting on. Here we go. Let's get the show on the road. We're going to talk about these 7 areas, because these are the 7 areas that various centers, you guys basically, suggested might be worth revising, worth reviewing, worth looking at. And I agree with some of you. I picked these out because I thought these might be topic areas that could come up in the exam. So there's a sort of a dual backing, if you like, for these topic areas. We, teachers, think that some of these, hopefully all of them, some of these will come up in the exam. So let's look at these and get the show on the road. Okay, get a pen in your hand. Start working. Here's a diagram showing vaguely, really roughly and poorly, but it's, you know, it's the draw program in PowerPoint. Structure of arteries, capillaries, veins. Underneath the arteries, can you give me please 2 characteristics of arteries? Underneath the capillaries, can you give me 2 characteristics of capillaries? Underneath the veins, can you give me 2 please characteristics of veins? This is not a test. This is please seek help. Ask the person sat next to you, help each other, and when it goes deathly quiet for the next minute or so, that's because I've muted my microphone. Don't get upset. So I'm going to mute my microphone, give you a minute, please, students, to answer those questions. 2 characteristics of arteries, capillaries, veins. Off you go. Is that about a minute? Quite hard sat here trying to work out how long a minute is, how short a minute is. If I'm going too fast or too slow, please will someone tell me that I'm going too fast or too slow so I can slow down or speed up, etc. Okay, my thoughts. Not necessarily tallying with yours, my thoughts. And there are alternative answers. My thoughts. Arteries. Thick muscular walls. I think you probably need to get the word muscular in that to get a mark. They're thick walls, but the reason why they're thick is because it's for the muscle. Maybe you've got the idea they carry blood away from the heart. I use that letter A, arteries away, and that's how I remember that all the time. Blood in arteries tends to be under very, very high pressure, therefore they are very, very elastic. They can stretch, in simple terms. In terms of capillaries, it's much harder to give 2 characteristics of capillaries, much, much harder. I assume you've put down they've got very, very thin walls. Cool, I can cope with that. Maybe you said there's miles of them, which maybe links in vaguely, but I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, go on. There's a lot more capillaries than there are arteries. And I thought you might be talking about the idea they've been very, very thin to permit this diffusion of substances, oxygen, carbon dioxide, glucose, etc., in and out through their thin walls. Then for veins, did you talk about them being very, very thin-walled? Or I'm just looking at that now thinking you may have said they have a large lumen. Lumen means the internal surface. They take blood back to the heart, opposite direction to arteries. And also the venous return mechanism is linked into veins. That, veins need help to get blood back to the heart, hence maybe linked into the venous return mechanism. And don't forget, these are my thoughts, not chief examiners, not necessarily totally the correct answer, just some idea. You've got other stuff down there that's correct, your teacher agrees it's correct, you remember your stuff. Please don't just copy the stuff that I come up with. It's in my words. I will use words that I'm used to. I'm a teacher. I like long words. So if you've got simpler words and you use them, do so. Okay. In next slide is a question. The important thing about this question is the way it's phrased. During activity, oxygen supplied to muscles through the blood system. Describe, a command word, describe. Now that means you could actually possibly get away with drawing this, but I'm not sure that's going to work in this respect. But describe means give information so that I can visualize what's going on. But then there's a qualifier that says two characteristics of veins which help with the transport of blood. Now the problem here is, if that's the question, then the examiners will mark only the first two characteristics you put down. If you put down 3 and the second one is wrong or not on the mark scheme, you won't get any marks for the third one. The examiners will only mark the first 2. So okay, have a go at this then. Let's give you a few more seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds for 2 characteristics of veins, and there's space on the next slide for that answer. Have a go at that. Okay, now the important thing here is this question was asked in January 13, so it's 2 years old. So if the examiners are going to ask something about blood vessels, presumably it won't exactly repeat this question because other blood vessels questions haven't been asked. So I wouldn't exactly expect this question to be repeated. More likely, I think, be a question about arteries, maybe a question about capillaries. But let's move in. Let's see what the old mark scheme said. Thinner layer of muscle or thinner layer of elastic tissue. They have valves. I bet you put that down in your first slide underneath the diagram. Wide lumen we talked about. And blood tends to be at quite low pressure inside veins. They were the generally accepted answers, or the generally recognized answers from that exam 2 years ago. Okay, so we think there might be on the exam paper something about arteries, veins,